the superintendent of Woodson USD 366 in southeast Kansas. This video has been put together to generate a community discussion which should lead to answering the question, what do we want our schools to be during the next 30 years? If you are a person who lives in our school district, we would like to have you complete a short survey after you finish watching the video. Kevin Ward is an engineer from Train Electrical Heating and Air Conditioning. He and his team evaluated the mechanical condition of our schools this past summer. According to the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers, many of our mechanical systems in our two schools are much older than their normal useful service life. This diagram illustrates the age of the mechanical systems in the pre-K-8 school building. It is not surprising that most of the systems have exceeded their useful service life. The boilers were replaced less than 4 years ago, and our kitchen systems have been updated as needed over the past 10 to 15 years. The same kind of illustration for the high school is somewhat surprising because we identify Norris Gym and the addition on the north side of the high school complex as our new addition. But these areas were built in 1995, which was 22 years ago. Again, the boiler system and the kitchen systems are the newest systems in the building, just as they are in the South School. Many of the systems in the shop areas have been upgraded when needed during the past 10 to 15 years as well. The district replaced plastic water supply lines with new copper lines this past summer. This is not represented in this drawing. This is a description of the mechanical work that needs to take place in our current facilities. There will be energy savings with upgrading electrical systems, but the next slide shows how we will not be able to save enough money to recoup the expense of the new electrical and plumbing and HVAC additions. The annual savings is considerable, but it would take a little over 230 years for the savings to equal the expense of installing new systems. Again, in the South Building, that would be $4.1 million, and in the high school, the estimated budget would be $3.1 million. The district's Facilities Planning Steering Committee asked me to try to find out what our average patron would be most interested in supporting as we explore ways to upgrade our school facilities. We are working with a facilities consultant who helped us generate 4 or 5 ideas, putting a price tag on each of these ideas. We want everyone who views this PowerPoint to remember these options are simply ideas to put together to give the committee members some concepts for a discussion. The final recommendation to the Board of Education will probably be an idea that combines parts of each of these options. Option A focuses on simply fixing our needs. This list is generated from the Train engineers' data as well as information gathered from other professionals who evaluated our buildings over the past several months. This option states we will complete some concrete work on the outside of the building and replace the 3 layers of roofing materials currently on the South School with a new membrane that will come with a long-term guarantee. Mechanical, electrical, and plumbing work will be completed. We will replace the outdated intercom systems and the clock systems in both schools and install a video surveillance system to improve student safety. There is some drainage work that also needs to be completed, especially in the pre-K-8 facility. The cost to complete the work listed in Option A is estimated to be from $11 million to $12.3 million. These costs are based on advice from contractors who visited our buildings in person. After we look at the other options individually, we will provide you with a slide that compares expenses. Option B is the most comprehensive option we have to look at. This option begins with the list of improvements that we saw in option A, but this list is applied to brand new facilities. This option counts the cost of removing the oldest portion of the high school and 2 instructional pods of the south school. This option assumes we will keep the south gym with new structures needed to make the space acoustically friendly. The bottom line is the size and the good condition of the concrete make it very expensive to replace the south gym. The cost of option B is estimated to be between $25.5 and $27.4 million. If we were to build a new auditorium to replace the one which would be removed with the demolition of the 24 structure, we believe it would cost us between $2.5 to $2.6 million to replace. If we were to decide to add a new kitchen and dining hall in the south building to increase the use of the gym space throughout lunch and breakfast, the estimated cost for this addition would be $2.1 to $2.2 million. Excuse me. Option C is similar to option A, only we are remodeling the older portion of the high school and the pre-K-8 facilities. New finishes would include changing out everything from doors to ceiling tiles, painting the hallways, replacing loose tiles on the floor, fixtures in the restroom, etc. The remodeling in option C is estimated to cost $16.6 million to $18.1 million, and this is about $5.6 million to $5.8 million more than the expenses listed in option A, which again was identified as simply fixing our current needs. As with option B, there are 2 additional alternatives that might be considered. A new office suite and teacher workroom at the elementary middle school includes office space not only for the principal, but also for the counselor, itinerant special education, and mental health social workers, as well as the school nurse. The possible new student dining room was explained briefly a couple of slides ago. The prices of the 2 alternate considerations here in option B are less than half of what these same alternatives were listed to cost in a brand new building, because we are obviously using existing building frames, not building new. We would like to take just a minute to again remind our patrons that these options are brainstorming exercises, which means we are bringing up some big ideas without committing to any of them. Brainstorming ideas will help our steering committee develop a recommendation through a wide-angle, multifaceted viewpoint. Option D presents the idea of reorganizing our schools into a pre-K-6 facility on the south side of town and turning our current high school into a 7-12 junior-senior high school. Remodeling and or rebuilding differently organized school buildings might generate different costs than those we have already looked at. Option D1, called Restructure and Reorganize, is an option that includes remodeling the 1924 frame of the high school and demolishing the 2 classroom pods of the south building to replace them with a smaller building which would house the pre-K through 6th grade students. The estimated cost of this option is from $19.6 million to $20.9 million. With the addition of 2 more grade levels at the current 9-12 facility, it is reasonable to consider building a new office suite and workspace at the high school. Our current office space is extremely small for administrative and support staff, and it is not positioned to provide a great deal of student supervision in the hallways and outside. Option D2 is a plan that does not remove our current spaces, but reorganizes the classrooms to focus on the pre-K through 6th grade students. The estimated cost of option D.2 is between $15.8 million and $17.3 million. Again, alternate 1 for option D2 considers the possibility of adding a new office suite and teacher workroom for what would become our junior-senior high school. As promised, here is a display of all of the options simultaneously. The obvious question is, what might each of these options do to our property taxes? All of the options are much more expensive than they would have been prior to July 1 of 2015. Our legislators changed the formula for state aid for school bond issues at that time, which reduced our state aid from 34% to currently 9%. This slide makes it very easy to see how current policies in Topeka have negatively affected small rural school districts. The next 2 slides illustrate the increase in property taxes for each of the options we have outlined in this presentation. Again, we are assuming a 20-year payoff. Each of the boxes of information here pertain to one of the options that we've looked at. Option A, the lowest estimate, would cost us 21.285 mils. Currently, our school district operates from a 47.47 mil levy tax. Option B is 49.3425 mils. Option C, 121 mils. Again, each one of these boxes outline what a residential home of $75,000 value would have to increase their taxes. Ag buildings and commercial with a value of $100,000. Farmland, $160,000. And again, farmland varies from value based on how it is used. Those of you who own farm ground would understand that more than I certainly would. But we can see what the tax increase would be for each option A, B, and C on this slide. This slide talks about the 2 options generated in option D, and that was the restructure and reorganize option. And again, these are based on the lower estimate of the time frame or the estimated expenses that we had listed previously. In closing, we want to again ask all of our patrons to consider their personal answer to the question, what do we want our schools to be during the next 30 years? The steering committee would like to have each of you complete a short survey to help them with some input. We invite you to go to our district website at www.usd366.net to find out how to complete this survey by November 3rd of 2017. If you have any questions or ideas, please don't hesitate to contact me, Greg Brown, at the district office, or visit with any of the facilities planning steering committee members. Thank you for your time, and we appreciate your consideration and your input and your commitment to USD 366. Have a great day.